Welcome back, guys. So I've been seeing some comments about you wanting me to show you how to script in the game. And well, I've decided that I will be showing you a simpler script that we're going to make together. And hopefully that will give you some kind of introductory tutorial into the scripting and the language that this game uses for scripting. So the way I'm going to do this is that I'm going to do a kind of two-part project here. In this first part, we're going to make a script that can secure a server, or at least somewhat secure a server. And this script will then be used to create a website. So the next tutorial here on Greyhack guides will be about making your own website, setting up your own server, and having your own hosting your own website on it. And I will be making a script to help with that in this episode, and then in the next episode we will be using the script to set up the website. So the first step is, of course, to get a server. I already have bought a few servers, so we will just be using one of these. And I guess a quick way of, no, let's not do the quick way, let's do the normal way. So we need to open a terminal, and there's a cool thing that I might show in the future. You can change the text size in the terminal. So me personally, I think that the text size is a bit small. So what I do is I run my command, and it makes the text size a little bit bigger. So it's easier to work with the terminal. What we will be doing is we will connect to our server with the SSH command. Then it says root is the user. Then let's see if that is a 0 or an O. Would think it might be a 0. Let's see. And then could have just copied it, of course. That was correct. So now we are on our server. And this is the server that we want to make into a website. So the script that we will be making is a script that chmods the entire server, and maybe a few other things we'll find out when we get there. So we will start by getting running the code editor on the server. You could, of course, write the script on your own system, or in single player, or even on outside the game, then copy paste the code into the server, or even compile the code on your own system and then upload it to the server. But since we are making the code, I see no reason to do that. So let's just make the code on the server. So this code, I'm not sure what to call it. Let's say that we call it server, because that's what it's going to be used on. And the idea is to have a script that, let's see here, if we go into the main folder, you can see all the, we can also use the file explorer to show this. So in the main folder, there are all of these folders. And what we want to do is we want to chmod every single one of them and all the content inside all of them. And the chmod command has now been migrated into the game, which means that we can do this with scripting. And even better, the chmod command has a recursive option, which means that you can choose to not only chmod the folder, but everything inside the folder. And so that's what we are going to use. Okay. So there are easier and, shall we say, harder ways of doing this. And maybe I should just start out by showing you the very, very simple way of doing it, but you will not learn as much from that. So we are going to make it a bit more complicated later on. But for the most easy way of doing this, let's also use the manual. So let's show you how you would go about learning while you script in game yourself. So what we want to do is we want to chmod, and if we go down here to files, we can see all the functions that we can use on files, and one of them is chmod down here. So this tells us how to use the chmod, and let's see here. So we can use file.chmod, and then we put a parenthesis and the information inside. So yeah, takes the permission like this, and then a optional recursive flag. So we want to run this on the computer. It's hard to know how to start out showing this. I've been hesitant to show scripting, but I'm going to try. Hopefully we'll learn something. So, okay, let's just show the chmod command first. So the chmod command works like this. You use chmod on a file. We don't know what the file is yet, since we have not selected a file or may put a file in a variable. But the chmod command in itself is used like this: chmod parenthesis, and then we choose, for example, u minus read write execute, like you would use chmod in terminal, and then you put a comma, and then you select if you want it to be just the object or folder that you select, or everything within that as well. So if we want to just chmod this folder, or if we want to chmod, oops, that's mine. Where did the other one go? Here it is. So for example, do we want to chmod just the bin folder, or do we want to chmod all the commands inside the bin folder as well? And if we choose to put a 0, then we pick just the folder. And if we put a 1, then we mean select all the items inside the folder as well. And that also means, why do I close this? Let's see here. That also means all folders inside of folders. So if we select the recursive option, then we would, are there any good examples of this here? Server maybe? So if we select the recursive option, then we would chmod server, and these two, and this one as well. So no matter how many layers of folders there are, everything will be chmod. So that's how the recursive option works on chmod. And so a very simple way of doing this, and that's why I'm showing this first, would be to select the dash folder. This is what we will be doing anyways. And so we know how to use chmod, and we want to use chmod on a specific folder. And then we have to select that folder. So that is where we use the computer.file. So as you can see here, there's an example of how to use this. You can use computer.file and then select the path to the file, and then the file will be put in a variable. If you like, you can put, with this, you can put the file into a variable, and then you can call the variable file, for example. So let's do something like that. Let's do a variable called main folder, and then you use the equal to sign, equals to say that this is a variable. A variable is like a box that you put things into. So we are going to put something into this box. Main folder. we use this computer.file function. So computer means this computer that we're on right now when we use the script. So that will be when we run it on the server, it will be the server computer. So that is deciding, okay, what is going to run this? Computer means the computer that has the script on it. So we select computer, and then we write .file, which means that we want to select a file on the computer, and then we type which file we want. So we want the dash file or folder. The .file extension is used for both files and folders. So we select the dash folder or the main folder, which is this folder that contains all of these folders. You can't go any further back. So this is like the this is the main folder. So now that we have selected a folder, we can use chmod on this folder. So let's do main folder dot chmod. That will chmod the folder we selected. And since we chose recursive, this code would now run chmod minus O on all of these folders and everything within them. So if we look down here, we just do lsla. Again, we can see that the O, have I shown chmod previously? Maybe I should just do make this more easy, make this easier to follow. So yeah, maybe they don't show it very well here either. But what you should think about is that the first 3 letters are for the owner of the file, which in this case is root. The second 3 are for the group, and in Grayak at the moment, users are in the group. So like if you make a new user on the computer, then that would be considered in the group. And then the last 3 are for others, which at the moment I think is only guest. But of course, no, I'm not sure. But well, I am sure about that. But I'm not going to say more. So the last 3 is probably only guest, maybe more, but probably only guest. And what you would do with O minus write, read, and execute is that you would remove the permissions that are for the guest or for others. So the writing permission would be gone. The reading permission, the writing permission is already removed, and then the execution permission would also be removed if we ran this. And this would be true for all the folders and everything within the folders. Before we run this, I would just like to make a small, shall we say, line of code or 2 perhaps. And so if you remember previously, I think I've discussed this. If you go into bin right here, you can see your sudo command. When you chmod a server, you have to be very careful not to chmod your sudo command, because if you chmod your sudo command, there will be no way to gain access on the server. There are, of course, on a SSH server, the option of using SSH root login, like we did when we accessed this server. But since we're going to make this into a website later on, we will remove the SSH port and replace it with the HTTP port. And then the only way onto the server to gain root access will be through the sudo command. And therefore, it's very important that we put back execute privileges for others, for guests, on the sudo command after we have chmod at the server. So when the script runs, it will chmod the main folder for others, but then we will use chmod again, others plus x, and we can, it doesn't matter, you can put a 0 or a 1 here, and then we will need to do this on the sudo command. Sudo, let's do that. But this is of course not going to do anything because there is nothing in the sudo variable. Variable is just an empty box that we put stuff into, and we can name the box something, so we just named it sudo. And if you think that I'm making this scripting tutorial way too easy, I know that like some players, this is the first time that they are scripting in their lives, and others have scripted a little bit, so it's hard to know on what level I should make this. If you have comments about this, please leave that in the comments. But I will try to start out easy and perhaps do some slightly more advanced things at the end. But there will be no advanced scripting in this tutorial, as I think I mentioned previously. So we need to put something in the box, and what we want to put in the box, I'm not even writing this correctly, .chmod, of course, is another folder or file that we have to select. And in this case, we want to select the sudo file. So again, we use the computer dot file, and we need to select the sudo command. Important here is to also include the path to the file. So we have to put -bin, then -sudo to specify where the file is that we want to select. So this will select the sudo file, and then we want to put that file into the box that we called sudo, and then we want to chmod that file. So now that we run this program, I think that it's going to, hopefully if we've done everything correctly, chmod everything for others, and then give us execute permissions on sudo. Let's try the script by just, and we wanted to call it server, didn't we? So server, and then save, and then go cd. Because we saved this in the root folder, we have to go into the root folder in the terminal to execute it. You could put it in the bin folder if you want to execute it from anywhere, but this is fine. So now that we have gone into root, we can just take a look here, see if we can find it. Right here, this is our script. And now if we run server, okay, we're already getting errors because I didn't put this within quotation marks, I would guess. There are going to be a lot of errors because I'm still learning the programming, but hopefully you will be able to learn something. See here, chmod. I would guess. I'm pretty certain that's it. So yeah, I'm 100% certain that was it. Server, replace. And now when we do lsla, we can see that all the other permissions have been removed. We can go into the main folder, and look and see all of them have been removed. So we can go into the bin folder, and one of them has gotten the execution permission restored. That is the sudo command. So that's what we did on the last line. Now, if you just wanted to make this very simple, as I said we would do at the beginning, then you would just use the chmod on all the different kinds of users. So one for group and one for owner, and that should be enough to chmod your server. So let's try this again. Let's run server. Oh yeah, we have to be in the folder. We run server. Then we go back into CD, main folder. And now, as you can see, the entire server has been chmodded and is now much harder to break into. So this is like the simple version of securing your server. There's still a few things you might want to do here, but for the most part, you have made your server several times safer. We will be I'm considering what more things this script should do, but I will show you now how to make this a bit more complicated. Now, it might be needlessly complicated, but that's because it's more about learning rather than making the best script for the occasion. So instead of running main folder chmod 3 times in a row like this, what you usually want to do, especially if maybe it would have been like 10 times or 20 times, what you would have wanted to do, or what you want to do, is to run a for loop that does it for you all the times, instead of having several lines of code that are identical or almost identical. So what we would do is we would run a for loop, which is for, and I guess we would or should make a list. So a variable is like a box that you put one thing into. A list is like a shelf that you can put many things onto. And so let's see here. Users could be the name of the list. And this is how you show the program that it's a list rather than a variable. And then we would put these like this, because that's pretty much the only thing that changed. It's even less changed than that. We might actually go ahead and put the RWX. I don't know, it's barely any difference. We'll see. So now we have a list with 3 items in it. And this is how you do items. And then we would run a for loop on all of them. So this is hard to explain for somebody who doesn't know any kind of coding. First of all, every one of these need to be saved as strings, and that is shown by putting quotation marks around it. Then every item is separated by a comma, and that's how the program knows that this is the first item. This is the second item, and the quotation marks shows the program that it's a string, which is a text, pretty much. So let's do it like this. So for user in users, this is how a for loop works, and then we need to end it, end for. So inside of this for loop, it's going to take the first users and put that into user, and then run that. And it's going to take the second users and put that into, like, this is a variable. So it takes the shelf with the 3 items on it, and it takes the first item and it puts that on the into the box user. Then it runs that, and then it runs the second one and puts that into the box user. Then it takes the third one and puts that into the box user. Then when it has done that for all the items in the list, it could be 100 items in this list, but when it's gone to 80 and 90 and 100, and it's taken all of the items and put that into user, then it stops. So it runs until it's done this process for all the items in the list. So what we want to do is we want to use this to our advantage, I guess, by taking the folder like we did previously, and we now select, instead of taking the text here, we take and put user. So now it will take this O minus RWX and put that into here and then run that. Then it's going to do it for the second one and the third one. And then when it's done, it's finished. So instead of having to type this 3 times like we did, we could just run it in a for loop for every single one of these, and it will have done the exact same thing. So these 2 methods I'm showing right now will do the same thing, but this is a more efficient way of doing it when you have more items. We only had 3 of them, so we added an extra line of code rather than removed it, so it's not more efficient, but it's good to show how it works, or a good way of showing how it works. But instead of doing minus, let's do plus, so we can see that it works. Another thing I want to mention is that the chmod is perhaps slightly bugged at the moment. So it doesn't like when we run it quickly in a loop, or, well, in a program, if we run several ones. And so a solution that I came up with is to put a very tiny delay. So let's see, how much is that? 15 tenths, no, hundredths of a second. Thousands, 15 thousandths of a second. Okay. I'm tired, I guess. So it just waits a very, very short amount of time before it runs again, and that seems to fix the issue. And that amount of time in my testing have been working out quite well. Okay, so let's try this again, but this time, instead of removing permissions, it will add permissions to everything. Everything should be put into read, write, execute. Everything should get read, write, execute permissions. Command not found, of course. We need to go into the root folder. Then we run the program. Then we go back into the main folder, and we see that now everything has gotten permissions. To go into the bin folder, everything in here as well has got permissions. So as you can see, this method also works, and it's more efficient, so I like it better than the first method, or should be more efficient. The way of coding is more efficient. Okay, we might want to add a few more things. I don't know how long this video has been going on, but why not, right? So one thing that, let's show that this is a way that players can hack each other. If they somehow manage to stop the service that is running on the server, so if somebody managed to stop the SSH service with SSHD stop, or if we're running an HTTP server, they could stop that. If they manage to do that, then the server will have been taken down and you can no longer access your server. So the server is lost, pretty much. And to prevent this, what we can do, well, one way of doing it is to remove the entire server folder. This is also going to make it, well, that's only for SSH servers, so I'm not going to explain that. It's different for HTTP servers. Regardless, when we remove the server, the players or hackers won't be able to take down your server as easily. And so let's put that into the script, shall we? You could do this before you chmod or after, it doesn't matter. And let's do it before. So we want to, I said that I would be showing you how to do this with the manual, but I've been quite bad at doing that. So now that we want to find a method for removing files and folders. And if we look here in the manual, you can see that again there is a file.delete, and this is a function for removing things. And again, it uses the computer.file to select the file, and then it uses a file.delete to remove the file. So let's select the file we want to remove. We do computer.file is dash server. Then we want to put it in a box. So let's call the box server, since that makes the most sense. And now there is the server file selected in the server folder, server variable. Then we want to use server.delete. And before we run this, we need to remember or understand something important, that the program will not like if we tell it to delete something that doesn't exist. So if we put .delete on something, it expects the thing that we want to delete to exist. Otherwise, it's going to throw an error. And every time we run this script, it's going to delete server. So after you run this script once, it's going to start throwing errors at us because it's trying to delete things that doesn't exist. So what we want to do is we want to check if there is a server, or well, if this folder exists. So since we put server into the box, we can do if server then. So if there is a server, then do something. And then we can just put server delete after that, like this. So since this box is empty, if the file doesn't exist, then it's not going to say that there is something in server. But if there is something in the box server, in this case the server folder, then it's going to delete server. And this will fix so that we don't get any errors, hopefully. Hopefully no errors. Server. Yes, that's true. We will not be running this at the moment, actually. And the reason for that is that I want to install the HTTP server and then stop the SSH service on this computer. If I remove the server now, I will not be able to stop it because I need to run, let's see here, server. In here, there is a SSH D file. And what I need to do is I need to do SSHD, and then as you can see here, SSHD start or stop. And I want to stop this so that players can't hack this server with SSH anymore. So I can't remove that at the moment. Okay, let's do a little bit more just because it's fun, I guess. And then in the next episode, I will be using this script to make the website server. Okay, we could add one more thing. So another trick that is used quite commonly, except for these I've shown now. So removing the server folder is quite common. chmodding your entire server is a common trick for securing a server. Another common trick is to rename the sudo file or sudo command. So when the guest logs into the system and tries to put in their own password, a added security would be if they don't even know what the sudo command is called. So if the sudo command is called something else, they would have to figure that out before they can try out passwords on the server. Now, usually they can't just guess the password anyways, but to make it a bit more secure, you can rename the sudo command. So I'm guessing that we are going to, yeah, we could do that at the beginning as well. So it doesn't matter if we do that at the end or at the beginning. One thing that we could perhaps add is, that could be quite fun as well. So since we are chmodding an entire server, a normal user or a guest user, I don't even think a guest user would be able to do much, but a normal user would not be able to chmod everything. And therefore, this script should only be run by a root user. So somebody needs to be or should be a root, like we are, in order to run this script. And so at the beginning of the script, we could check if the user is root, and if the user isn't root, then it exits the script. So the way we would do that, let's see here, again in the manual, we can active user, I think it is. Yeah, it returns the name of the user who is executing the script. And if we are root, then the name of the user is root. So we could go if active, on the, you can see up here what it's called, active user is what returns the string. So if active user is equal to, so when you put stuff into variables, you use one equals sign. But when you want to check if something is something else, like if active user is root, like this, then you put two equal signs. So it checks, is this equal to this? Then you need two equal signs. And when you say, I want to put this file into this folder, then you put one equal sign. I don't even know if I'm making a good job or doing a good job of explaining all this. It's kind of difficult to know what to explain and when to explain it. But yeah, so we're checking if the active user is root. Then, so if the active user is root, then we should run this code, right? And the best way of doing this would therefore be to check if the active user is not root. So if you want to check if something is not true, then we put an exclamation mark or point in front of the equal sign. So this means that active user is not root. And if it's not root, then we want to exit the script, right? So if it's not root, then we exit the script. Otherwise, we run the script. And this has to be put first, because if we put this like down here, then it's going to run all the other code first and then check if we are root. So we need to put this first up here. The code runs from the top to the bottom. And then we could send a error message inside the exit. So we could say run as root. I don't think we will be able to show this. Yeah, we could show this on our own computer actually. So if we copy our code into the code editor, right, like this, and then save it on our, wait, I have chmod on my own computer, so that's not going to work. We need to be root. This is fun, isn't it? We need to be root in order to make the script, but we need to be not root in order to test it. Well, we can figure this out. Let's see here. So we run code editor, we paste in the code. So the reason I couldn't do it when I ran the code editor from the desktop was because that didn't give me root privileges in the code editor. And if I don't have root privileges in the code editor, I can't save files into protected folders. And I need to save this into protected folders because everything on my computer is protected at the moment. So let's do, and I need to save it in the home folder of my user then, because otherwise I won't be able to open it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to show it. Server, save. Okay. So now that we open the terminal and we try as user instead of root to run the command that we just made, it says run as root and it doesn't do anything. If we now do lsla, I can't even run the command because we don't have permissions. Therefore, the script didn't run, because if it had run, then it would have unchmodded everything or given permissions to everything. So that part of the code works. But let's add the other fun thing that I thought of. We want to rename the sudo. And I don't know if the rename, so there is a file.rename up here. I don't know if that is working at the moment. So let's not try it. Let's use the, because that's going to take a lot of time. Let's use the move command instead. So the move command or a function can also rename folders. We'll just use that. Let's close this. So the move command also uses a file. So we need to find a file and then put .move. So as you can see in all of these, we like put a file into a variable and then we use some kind of function on the file. In this example, we are going to, I'm doing things that I don't explain. So the reason I put 2 dashes in front of if here was to make this into a comment rather than code. So this I can just remove these two, and then it will run this code as well. But if it's a comment, then it doesn't run the code. It just thinks that this is a comment I made on the code or something. And I want to use this later when I actually want to delete the server folder. Okay, so we want to use the move command on a file that we have selected. The file in this case will again be the sudo. So then I guess it would be actually makes sense to do it down here instead, because we have already selected the file sudo in this variable, in this box. And so we can use the box again if we do it after the box has been selected. But if we try to do it up here, then there is nothing in the sudo box yet. The sudo box doesn't even exist yet. It is created down here. And so therefore we have to do it after that has happened, which would be down here. And the move command works like many of the other ones. You just put the file and then move, and then you select the destination you want to move to and the name you want it to be called. So we will select the file, which is sudo file, and then we move it with sudo move. And then we move it into the folder it's already in, so that it we don't want to move it anywhere else. We want it to stay in bin, so we just select the same folder, and then we name it what we want it to be called. And from here you could just like secret, right? Now we have named the sudo command secret on the computer instead of sudo, so then it will be harder for players to find it, and you can name it whatever you like. And let's just run this and show that it works, or test that it works perhaps. So we need to save it as server, overwrite the file, and then we run server. And now if we go into bin, there should now be a, okay, that didn't work. Sudo command is still there. Why is that? This is strange. Oh, no, that's not strange at all. I'm so stupid. We want to move it into the folder bin, but we are not supposed to specify what the name of the file is, because that is already specified here. So this is the file we want to move, and that is the sudo file, so we don't have to specify that in here. This is just the path and then the name we want to give it. Let's try this again. There are quite a few things like this that you might either forget or get used to, or yeah, you know. Let's see here. CD server. Did I run? Let's see here. CD. As you can see here, this is probably a bug, but it shows us that something happened. So now it probably worked. And so now you can see that there's a new file down here called secret, and there is no sudo command, which means that the sudo command has been renamed. So this works wonderfully. What you could do is, instead of having to put a secret name on your sudo file down here into the code, you could do it so that you type server and then the secret. So if you put something else here, like hidden, then it would name the sudo file into hidden instead. So let's try to do something like this. So we want to take the server command and put something into the server command. And I already showed you how to do that in a previous episode, but I think that it might be helpful to show it again. Before we do that, we need to rename it into sudo, because otherwise the program can't find it, because it looks for a file called sudo, right? So we need to rename it into sudo if we want to use that again. So let's just, well, we could just run it as secret as well, but to make it a bit easier to understand, I think this is the way to do it. We will run here cd, and we will run server like this. And now we can see that it has been renamed into sudo again. So up here at the start, after we have checked if the user is root, we will check if they put in a sudo name. And let's say that the this might be easier. So, well, no, not really, but let's say that you have to run this command with a sudo name. You can't just run server anymore. You have to put in a secret sudo name. And the way you would do that is if params.len is not equal to 1, then exit. So what this means is that, as I explained in the previous episode, let's say that we put, like I said, server and secret like this, then the first word that we typed after the command name will be params0. Then the second one, if we typed another one like this, would be params1, and so on. And what we want to do is we want to check, is there one command that has been typed in after a secret that is going to be put into secret and into this code? And if there is one, then we should run the code. So this checks, is there, okay, let's show it like I did last time. Is the length of params, which is the number of items in the list. So this is also a list. Params is a list of all the things that you put into a server. Now we put one thing secret. If we put another thing, and we have put 2 things, this is how we put 3 things, 4 things. So it just checks how many things have we put in here. And that is params.len. Len shows how many things are in a list. And this is making a list out of the input into the server command. So if the length is 1, which means we have put 1 thing in here, then exit. But that's not what we want to do. We want to check if we have not put 1 thing into secret. Let's say that we put 2 things or 0 things, then it will exit and tell us put new sudo name. So if we don't put a sudo name, then it will tell us to put a sudo name and exit the script. But if it if the person or if we put one thing in here, then it will make that thing into the sudo name. So instead of putting sudo down here, we want to use params 0. So params 0, as I explained, is the first item in the list. So instead of putting sudo down here, you put params 0. And that will make the sudo name into whatever we typed. This will only work one time, because then it's not going to find, because it looks for a file called secret. Like now it won't find anything, because there is no file called secret in bin. You have to make it into sudo again. But then when we have changed it, it will not be able to find it. And perhaps it's going to throw errors at us if it can't find it, probably. Yes, I think so. So we have to, again, go with a if statement here, which is if sudo, then exit. But we want to reverse this. So it's if sudo is not equal to. Oh, no, wait, that's not how we do this. We will actually do if sudo equals to null. So whenever we create a box like this, it is empty. There's nothing in it. But if we put something into it, then it's not null anymore. So if sudo equals to null, that means that sudo is empty, then it couldn't find the file we're looking for, and then it will exit the script before it tries to chmod the file that doesn't exist or move the file that doesn't exist. So if it does find the file, which it should now that we named it into sudo, then it will rename sudo into the command that we typed into the terminal. So let's save this. Server. So now that we try to run server, it will say, oops, cd. Always make that mistake. I'm so used to putting my commands into the bin folder, then you can run them from anywhere. But now we're just putting it into the root folder, so we have to be in the root folder to run them. So if we run server, then it says put new sudo name. So it tells us we need to put something after sudo. We need to put a sudo name. If we do put a sudo name, so we put hidden, but we also put more text like this, then it's also going to tell us put no pseudonym. So the only way to, or like if you were to try to make a hidden password, then it tells us that we need to put a new pseudonym because it only accepts one parameter, one item in the list. So we need to put server and only one thing, and then it will rename sudo into hidden. So now if we type bin, now there's a hidden file here, which is the sudo command. If we were to try to run this again, like now we want to rename it into secret, then this exit thing that we made at the end should kick in and just kick us out before it tries to chmod or move files that doesn't exist. So now we do server secret, and if we go into bin, we can see that it's still called hidden because it couldn't change it because it didn't find anything called sudo.